Okay, hey, what's up? It's Activator yet again. We're gonna do another tutorial series today to introduce people to today, 2018, almost 2019 now. It's October, and I wanted to show you guys OBS, downloading OBS, different types of ways to stream, and like what programs you can use to begin streaming from free to paid, and just to try to give you guys an idea of how to set up your system so that you can stream with on a budget or with gear. Everything will work, and hopefully this helps you out. But I wanted to jump in right now and talk about the two big contenders right now in terms of I guess there's three total, but there was two big contenders I want to say for streaming right now. And to go live in general, first you got to pick where you're going to stream to. Let's use Twitch in this case because I stream on Twitch. But I'm sure this would work for YouTube and Mixer. Basically, you want to choose which program you want to use. There's Streamlabs OBS, there's OBS Studio, and then there's XSplit. There are other programs out there too, like Bebo and some other ones. But for just this video and for anybody who's been streaming for however long, you're gonna know the big contenders, mostly being OBS and Streamlabs OBS. So XSplit is a paid program, and I tried them once, and there's no point. I don't see any benefit by having XSplit over OBS, a paid program versus a free program. I don't see any really big differences. Both allow you to tweak a lot of settings and get the thing that you want done. In this video, we're only going to be talking about these two apps right here. We got Streamlabs OBS and OBS Studio. Both will look very similar. You know, Streamlabs has been around for forever. They originally, their name was Twitch Alerts, but that's besides the point. Let's just get right in and talk about these two programs. OBS has been around forever. Everybody who's ever streamed on Twitch knows the word or the three letters OBS. Both these programs are free, and depending on how detailed you want to get with your own stream, you may want to choose one or the other. I recommend for anybody just starting out, Streamlabs OBS. And the reason I say that is because everything is almost like a one-click setup and you're done. You don't have to worry about anything. You can go live and say, screw everything else. You got custom presets, custom everything, custom alerts, custom anything you want. It's already in there, and it's all built into Streamlabs' website, and everything is very easy to understand and go over. Whereas OBS Studio is a little more, I don't know how to put it, like the Windows 95 or something like that in terms of like today's Windows 10. You look at the difference, it's very much just like you see the stats, you see what you're changing. There's no fluff, there's no flair. It is just a program, and it's worked, and it's always been good, and it's always being worked on because of how widely used it is. When I first started streaming, I used OBS Studio. I switched over to Streamlabs to test it. Didn't get the things I wanted out of it. Maybe they've updated it since then, but not everything is in Streamlabs that I want. So I'm still on OBS Studio, but let's go ahead and take a look at both of these two programs right here. We got one that is called OBS. You're gonna see it right here on the right-hand side. This is kind of what I use on my game PC. I have a 2 PC setup. I'll go over that in another video. But basically this is what OBS looks like when you install it. Most likely this will just be a black screen, and all these will be just blacked out. For the case of this, I need to be able to show you guys what the hell I'm doing. So I already have a couple things here, including some cams and stuff, but it doesn't matter. Then you have the other program, which is Streamlabs OBS. Boom, they basically look almost identical. You can see they both have mixers, they both have sources, they both have scenes, they have their settings. But yeah, you log in with your own Twitch account or whatever account you have, aka Mixer, YouTube, blah blah blah. But yeah, for now, these are the two big contenders in terms of, do you want to have a more cut and dry build your own stream based on other people's things with like themes and whatnot, which I can't access. I think I need to log in. But basically you can have your whole stream set up for you, or you can kind of customize everything from the start and use OBS. For this case, I'm going to go over OBS here. This is a very Streamlabs OBS is a very easy to use program. If you load it up, it's basically gonna handhold you through the whole process. But if you just start by logging in, everything else will start to get taken care of, and you'll start to see everything you need. When you first open this program, you're gonna be like, what the hell do I start doing? And I'm not gonna try to handhold you guys too much. Hopefully you guys are just smart enough to know, you know, you look around here and you just look at the settings themselves. You'll see things, you right click on things, you can see things, you see plus and minuses. You just go through the settings, just look at it. The first thing you should do is just go into your settings and start by going through each one of these tabs. It's very simple. There's a lot of things to go over here. I don't know if I'm gonna go over everything because honestly, you don't need to know everything. Just take it. I mean, you can copy and paste what I have here. This will work. There's no big deal. There's just some big highlighted points that I want to go over because most of the stuff just doesn't matter to the average person. And even for an advanced person, there's a lot of stuff. You know, I'll talk about everything from my perspective and what I use and whatnot, but I'm not gonna. There's some things here that just doesn't matter. You know, like the projectors and all this kind of stuff. Like it doesn't really matter. In some certain situations it does, but you know, I'll go over it when necessary to talk about everything that we're gonna go over here. But in terms of setting up your stream, the first thing is just, you know, choose your light or dark mode, whatever, doesn't matter. Automatically update on startup, it's good. You want your OBS to be constantly updated because if something else comes out that's new, you want to make sure that OBS can take care of it. But at the same time, maybe you don't want it. Maybe OBS is at a place where you are comfortable and you don't want something new involved or something new added to the program where it starts to mess up your stuff, because that can happen. You know, an update gets applied, a setting moves from A to B, and now you don't know where B is located anymore, and it kind of messes with you. Doesn't happen too often like that, but I always update mine. I check it every time I load up OBS. But for the most part, I always have OBS just up, so I manually check for updates. For the average user, I feel like just always have that on automatically check. Close out the app. As soon as you start it up, boom, it's gonna, you know, check and see if there's something new for you guys. Looking at some of this stuff, again, I'm only going over the stuff that I care about. One big thing is source alignment, and that's just for setting up items within inside of OBS. So let's say right here, I have a camera, you know, a little C9 30 camera, and I want to be able to move it around. So here it is, just me moving it around. But you can see inside of OBS right here that when I move it towards the edge, it kind of snaps. Let me turn this up to, let me see, like snap sensitivity being 5. And now when I get close to an object, you can kind of see how it snaps in like that. And it kind of just locks to an area. That way, if you have multiple sources, I have a secondary camera up above me here. And let's say I have this camera here and I want these two cameras to be like, you know, touching. You can see how it just magnetically, you know, syncs onto it. I put this camera way up here, it snaps. I put this one here, right here, boom, it snaps. And that way you don't have to worry about little sources getting misaligned or having a little bit of a pixel line somewhere in there. And it's kind of good sometimes, but you'll start to see the downsides of it when you want to have a little bit of space between the wall of the, you know, the edge of the scene here and whatnot. And yeah, you'll just start to realize that it gets annoying sometimes. So yeah, you just come in here and you turn off those settings, turn it off completely, and now you're stuck to try to really find out where the edge of, you know, the source you're trying to match up against, you know, you get it. It's not, I don't even know if does this matter to you guys? I don't know if this matters. But anyways, so let's hide these two things. So yeah, switching over to the stream tab here, stream thing, you're gonna want to choose a service. Very simple, all these different things here, Facebook, blah, 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 blah. We're choosing Twitch here. You want to just choose streaming services. You want Twitch or whatever thing you're using. Server, I'm in Brooklyn, New York, so I know automatically that I could come down here to US East New York. So I could select that, just leave it on auto, and it'll try to find it for you. Very, very simple. Your stream key right here, you're gonna get that inside of your dashboard, I believe. So if I bring over my dashboard right here, channel settings. So your stream key is under there. So if you can go to your own channel, twitch.tv/whatever your effing name is, you go to your dashboard, you go to settings, or just type in this, your stream key is gonna be right here. You're gonna wanna just copy that. You can show it and show yourself, but you're gonna wanna copy that and then go ahead and just close out of your dashboard and paste it into this little section, and it'll just be a long stream key. And that is unique to you. If you ever leak that, someone can stream onto your stream. You don't want that. Maybe you do. Maybe you live in some house and you want a lot of people streaming on your account. So I've seen that. People have streamer houses. They all use the same stream, but they rotate in and out who is live at what times. So that's that. So going ahead and going back into our settings, I'm going to walk you guys through the actual output of your stream. And this is going to be the main page or the main tab of OBS that you're going to want to pay attention to besides the video tab. These two tabs are going to really affect how your stream performs, handles, and everything. And depending on your CPU or your GPU, your graphics card or your computer chip in your, whatever you buy, an i7, i5, i3, whatever, you're going to know, or you're going to be allowed to bump your quality up just a little bit more at a time. But yeah, just OBS has a lot of built-in ways to know if you're pushing the limits too far, as well as your own task manager on your computer. Alt Control Delete Task Manager. That'll show you your percentages being used here, and I'll just quickly have that up on the side. So if I open up my Task Manager, I'm gonna put this over on the side here. It's just so you guys can kind of see what's happening and what's using resources. You can already see right here that OBS is using 12%, and that's because I have a program running to get this screen onto my other computer, so it's using a little bit more than is normal. But that's because I use a plugin called NDI and not a capture card, which I'll go over that later as well. So you'll be able to monitor your own performance here using your task manager. But regardless, let's get into this. Over here, usually when you start this, you're in a simplified version. It's not going to give you too much information here. You have your bitrate. You have your encoder, meaning your CPU or your GPU. That's all you need to look at right there. And then you have your audio bitrate, you have your just recording options as well. So switch this over to advanced, and that way you can get a bigger and overall better idea of how your stream is going to look, because you have access to these CPU presets. Presets are basically a word to say, hey, do you want to be able to play a game that uses a lot of CPU usage and also be able to stream, or do you want to have your CPU fully dedicated into just streaming, which is why people have two different PCs. I have a full dedicated stream PC, which allows me to really maximize the settings on my own stream PC to get the best quality that I can. And I'll go over some of these presets right here. So if you look over here, you have the same thing. You have your GPU versus your CPU. And generally, if you have a very high-end CPU, meaning something with a lot of cores and that can encode very well, like a good processor or CPU is something that has a lot of ways to distribute the load of doing tasks onto multiple cores. And the more cores you can put that task out onto, the better. And so for me, my stream PC has a 10 core or 12 cores, has 10 or 12 cores on the CPU. So I'm able to really utilize that processor to stream and encode. The next thing on this list is called Enforced Streaming Service Encoder Settings. This is a kind of a fine line here that I feel like not a lot of people know about. A lot of the beginner casters don't know about this. If you have this selected, this is basically saying Twitch will take care of the max bitrate that I'm allowed to have on their platform. So if I have this enabled as a partner, I believe I'm able to go up to 6,000 bitrate or maybe 6,500 bitrate. I can't remember. I think it's 6,000. And as an affiliate, I believe it's 3,500 to be able to stream to their servers. That bitrate is how much you are pushing out to their servers for people to watch. They have their own reasons for their bitrate minimums and maximums, but for me, and I can't condone people doing this because I don't know if it's good or bad. If you leave this unchecked, you can, as an affiliate, I believe, push this higher to whatever you want, and Twitch will not downgrade you. However, I don't know, and I can't speak to this, if Twitch will do anything to you for doing that. So you risk your own channel or whatever you want. For me, I leave this unchecked, and right now I am rocking, I believe, 8,000 bitrate. Even though we are allowed to have 6,000 bitrate, I push it a little bit more. There is a catch with pushing your bitrate because as soon as you push your bit rate, you are forcing a lot of people around the world that watch your stream that have low quality internet that they will not be able to watch your stream. If my stream is pumping out 8,000 bit rate, someone on their phone with bad service is going to have a really tough time being able to watch that unless they switch over to like 160p or audio only or something like that. So be cautious. And as a beginner streamer, I think lowering that number is actually better. You're going to get more people who are going to load up your stream and just like that, be able to start watching from anywhere, from any device. So I would recommend staying with what Twitch is saying you should do. And that would be to stick towards the lower bit rate that you are allowed to have. I don't know what it is for a beginner broadcaster. I just know that affiliates technically should stream at 3,500. And I think partners is 6 or 6,500. Moving on from there, again, so I have mine set to, I believe, 8,000, possibly even 8,400. I can't remember. I just swapped a setting recently, and I can't remember what I'm at right now, but I believe I'm at 8,000. The rescaling of the output, this is something you're going to want to look into. Basically, in this is what is being pumped out to Twitch. So in your video settings, we're going to skip all this for here for a second. In your video settings, this is what your actual stream size and resolution is going to be, as well as your frame rate. A lot of time, like when you first start up OBS, this will be locked into a nice solid 30 FPS. Okay. 30 FPS today, not as good, but for lower end PC users, 30 is going to be the way to go. I recommend 60. It looks cleaner. As soon as you put it into 60, everything looks fluid and smooth as Twitch will allow you, until at some point later on down the line when hopefully we can bump this up to like 120 or 144 for all the people that have better monitors to be able to see better imagery. The higher the frame rate, the better it is going to be for your eye, unless if you have 144 hertz monitors or anything like that. But for the most part, most people have 60 hertz monitors and TVs and screens on their phones that are all 60 hertz. So keep it 60. That's where you should be. 60 is better. Over here is basically just, I mean, you kind of have to do some tests with it. The way I do it is I just record a little bit. I change these up and I end up seeing a little bit of difference in visual quality. But the way I think this is adjusting whatever your base canvas is, or whatever your screen size is. So if I go back over here, my base canvas, this is 1920 by 1080. That's my monitor. I am not using a 4K monitor. I'm not using a 1440p monitor. But if you were, you'd want to be going over to the settings and you want to make sure that this is set to the 1440p monitor or your 4K monitor or whatever it is. That's your base. Okay, so that doesn't mean that that's what your stream's going to be. That's where the output comes in. So when you put this output, I used to stream at 1600 by 900, and you can see here it's not in the list. You can manually type it in here. So 1600 by 900, and that's what I used to stream at. So it would downscale my 1080 or your 4K or your 1440p into 1600 by 900 or 1080p. For now I'm utilizing 1080p. I literally just swapped over the other day. So I don't really need to mess with this. So back over to the output tab, you're gonna go back over here and you're gonna see that rescale output. I believe this kind of does the same thing, so it makes sure, I mean, I honestly, now that I think about it, I don't know how much this is actually affecting the stream. Now that I'm in 1920 by 1080, I don't know if having this set to 1600 by 900 is the way to do it, or if it's in the video setting. I'm pretty sure you do it here, and that will go out to Twitch. But anyways, moving on, leave that unchecked, and leave this at the desired resolution you want to stream to Twitch. So this right now we are at 1080 60 FPS, and there are some other numbers here that you can choose from. I don't recommend going to any of these things. Don't worry about it. Technically, you can go over here to integer FPS and select individual numbers. I've tried to do this setting before and go up to 120 FPS. I think that's the max. So yeah, it physically will not allow me to type in 200 FPS, but I can type in 120. Can I type in 121? I cannot. Can I type in 119? I can. So it's going to allow you to go up to 120. But for this, I just leave it on common, leave it at 60 FPS. Don't worry about those other things. So back into the output, again, your bit rate, you're going to want to make that what you feel comfortable outputting to Twitch for what people can watch. So the lower the better. I think by default it puts you at 2500. I would say to start out with, put it at 3000, see if you can handle it. This is where you start to work with quality. Your quality of your stream all comes down to these two things right here: your CPU preset and your bitrate. So if I stream at ultra fast, which is going to use up hardly any CPU, and I stream at 3000 bitrate, that is going to be a very pixelated mess. Ultra fast, not that bad, but it's going to be nasty. It's not going to be as good as you'd want it to be. When you have it set to ultra fast, you're basically you're utilizing your CPU to say, hey, quickly glance over my gameplay and try to compress it and pump it out to Twitch. Whereas if you come down here, all the way down here to slower, very slow placebo, you're telling your CPU, hey, stop everything you're doing. I want this thing to look 1 for 1, and I want to pump out the best quality possible to Twitch. However, the more slow you go, going from ultra fast all the way down to placebo, the more CPU usage you're going to be using, which will then stop you from being able to play games or do anything else. So there's a fine balance that you have to find on your own for your own PC. This is what it all comes down to. You got to find out what bitrate works for you, as well as how good you can get your preset to be. Good meaning slower. Right now, I was running at slow. I am now running at medium at 1080 60 FPS, and with my bitrate is almost as good as slow with a lower bitrate. It's kind of hard to explain, but basically the slower the preset, the better looking it's gonna be, but you're gonna use more resources of your more CPU resources, and it's gonna be hard to play games like PUBG or anything like that use the CPU a lot. So I recommend when you first start, try something like fast or faster, and maybe even very fast if you think your CPU can't really handle it, and try to pump out a test record. You never have to go live to test your stream. You can always just hit start recording and test out what it's gonna look like for you. Okay, so as a test, we're gonna open up our output settings, and I'm gonna lower this to something like 1000. I'm gonna put this preset all the way up to ultra fast. This is gonna be a very clear night and day change here that you're gonna see. And if I come over here and I hit apply and I hit OK, now our stream is set to 1000 bit rate. We're using our CPU. We're streaming at 1920 by 1080 at 60 FPS. But our bitrate being 1000 and our CPU preset being as high as it was, you're going to see what happens here, and it's going to look a little weird. We're going to start recording. I'm going to do a little test here. So you can also do this to be able to test your own stream and see what the quality is going to look like before you actually go live. If you guys do want to do those recording tests, make sure you go over here to the recording and you change this to an MP4. You don't want to deal with some of these other ones. MP4 will be a nice, what Twitch kind of sees, and it'll be a nice encoder. And then also come down here to encoder and use stream encoder. That way, any settings you adjust here will be applied to your recordings. So you're gonna do that, change where you want to save the videos to, and that's it. So you hit record. So we're gonna change over to something like this. I'm gonna move OBS out of the way, and we're gonna stare at this for a minute. And everything looks okay until we go into stop recording. Let's swap back to the other wallpaper here. And if I look at that recording, this one, ooh, there it is. You can clearly see the difference. When I'm playing right here, you can already see the recording quality has been downgraded by a huge factor. You can see just how pixelated everything is, just how nasty everything is. And when we swap over to this, you're gonna see a big old change, and that's gonna be your stream quality. And this is what bitrate and CPU presets will do for you or not do for you. So the moment I start to want to upgrade my quality, we're gonna go ahead and delete these really quickly. And I'm gonna jump into the settings yet again. We're gonna go into output. We're gonna change this to, let's call it 4000 bit rate. And we're gonna change this to fast. And we're gonna hit apply, and we're gonna hit OK, and we're gonna start to record. I'll swap over. We'll take a look at this background really quickly. I'll move this off screen. We'll take a look at this for a second. We're gonna come back over here, hit stop. we're gonna go back to our recording, show recordings. We're gonna look at this video and we're gonna forward it over to the end here where we change over, and you're gonna see the quality. It's a little bit better, but it's not perfect. You can kind of see some like pixelation in the shadows. You can kind of see the text getting a little funky here, and you're gonna start to see like the quality. It's good. It's way better than that last recording, but it is nowhere near what you see as my regular desktop right now, correct? So like you guys are seeing a very nice clean image, and that's because we were recording at 8,000 bitrate or 8,500 bitrate or something like that at 1080p 60 FPS. So we're gonna swap this back over to here. And even with my own settings right now, we're not getting the perfect image. I'm sure there are some issues. If you look at the text here, when I go back over here, I'm sure this isn't perfect, and to my eye it looks good, but I can't see my own stream quality. So I'm sure for you guys there's a little bit of pixelation going on right here. It's a little bit of something, but for the most part, this is my highest quality that I can pump out to Twitch. With a little bit more, I think I might be able to push it in the future, but I'm about to go off to TwitchCon and I don't have time to deal with all that. That takes care of the bitrate and the CPU preset. Again, you're gonna want to fine tune these things. So let's say my computer was chugging a little bit, I'm not able to run a game. Maybe I can lower this from fast to faster, and then maybe I can increase this to maybe 4200, hit apply, and just keep doing little tests. You keep changing it a little bit at a time, and you try to find the perfect balance between your CPU not using too many resources and your game still like functioning the way you want it to do. For me, I don't have to worry about this too much because I have a dedicated stream PC just doing all the streaming. So I have maxed out my CPU where it is almost using 100% CPU usage while streaming, and that is just taking my image from this computer, putting it onto a second computer and streaming that, whereas this computer is not playing video games and streaming, it is just streaming, and that's a huge thing. These other things down here I wouldn't worry about too much. I've tried to switch these. These are basically like little fine-tuning of the faster and the bit rate. It seems like when I use these, I don't really see a huge difference. I wouldn't worry about them. Leave them at none. Don't worry about it. Twitch recommends you have this set to a keyframe interval of 2. I honestly don't really see a huge difference. I don't know if it has to do with syncing issues or anything like that, but I leave it at 2 and just kind of see what happens and go from there. Looking down the rest of this list, your audio, it's all up to you, man. You put your mics in wherever you want them. So right now I have mine defaulted to my default mic, and that's because in my my sound options here, if I go ahead and look at my sound options, my recording is set to a program in which is outputting my microphone. So that is why my mic is set like that, and that is my default device. Come back here. That is my default microphone. That's it. The desktop audio device, leave that as default as well. If you know where your audio is coming into or going out of and all that stuff. So if I go back into my sounds and I go back over to my playback, I know that my default is way over here called Realtek Digital Output, because I use a optical cable in my Astro A40s headphones, and that is where my default audio is. So when you select that, boom, now all the audio that plays here, if I bring up a quick track, one of my vlogs here, you're gonna be able to hear that. And so if I turn it up a little bit, we'll go ahead and go back over to OBS, and as I'm playing this, you're gonna start to see these levels jumping around because it is all set up. You're hearing the video. That is my desktop audio. Very simple. Sample rate's kind of up to you guys. 44 is kind of the standard. 48 is better. 100%. It's just a little bit, people can notice the difference between 44 and 48. It's an audio thing. If you're not an audio fanatic, don't worry about it. Yeah, some of these other things down here, like the audio decay and the peak meter, these are literally just these things right here. If I was using my microphone, you can see the little decay of this. So when I stop talking, it goes down, right? And so then the other ways of looking at that is there's different audio meters. So if you didn't want that version, you could switch this over to true peak, and it would change the view of it, or the visual aspect of the meter. Coming down here to hotkeys, this is really nice, so you can switch between scenes. If you have a Stream Deck, it'll take care of it. But if you don't have a Stream Deck, what I do is I have this thing over here that is an external numpad. I can't really pull it out any more than this, but it's basically like a little external numpad, and this allows me to change scenes in my Stream OBS, so I'm able to go back and forth between my scenes here. I'll go over that in like a tech thing, but Anyways, so that's a hotkey in these settings. So if you want to change scenes or do other things, you go back to hotkeys, and let's say this scene I have down here called let's see, display. One of my scenes is display. That's right here. If I wanted to switch to that scene, I could add a hotkey and just, you know, type in you know, num minus, and then to switch to this scene, I can make this you know, whatever, divide. You know, so that's how you make hotkeys. I'm going to clear those because I don't want hotkeys for this. And then you can also apply hotkeys for other things, like if you wanted to show or hide a thing inside here. Like I can make a hotkey to turn this on at a fingertip of a button, or you push a button and it'll just activate and deactivate that thing. Let's see, advanced settings. So down here, you can kind of change how OBS handles on your PC. I have this set to above normal. It's trying to make the app have more priority over apps on your computer or your games or anything like that. For me, I set it to above normal just so it focuses on the stream or on OBS a little bit more than any of my games or anything like that. Color space, you don't have to worry about too much. It just changes like the type of color you use. I would leave it as default. Audio monitoring device, I wouldn't worry about it. All this stuff, wouldn't really worry about. There is some stuff built into OBS that does like simple replays. Like if you want to hit a button, it'll grab your footage if you're recording, and it'll grab some of that footage and it'll throw it up as a replay on your stream live. But there's other apps that can already do that for you, and people clip on Twitch anyways, so you don't really need to worry about that too much. All this other stuff I wouldn't really worry about. This was something they added pretty recently. Sources, you can enable hardware, browser source hardware acceleration. So a lot of times when you're using OBS, you're gonna want to add a source, a browser source. Let's say I wanted to add Streamlabs' alerts. So you would add a browser source. You'd put in your link here. You'd set your resolution, and then you know, I wanted my alert right here. The hardware acceleration will utilize your GPU to make sure this runs smoothly when an alert pops up, versus putting that load onto your CPU or something like that. Some other basic things are just scene transitions. You don't have to utilize them. I use fade and I leave it at 300. I don't really touch too much, but a cut fade literally just slam cuts into the old you know, this image right here. So it just slams cut from one to the other. So yeah, that's what happens there. But if you add the little fade, it'll fade into it. And if I increase this a lot, you'll see the slower fade when I fade in. So it's a nice smooth transition, and kind of nice. You can change that to however you want. There are also other transitions available online. You can try to find them. But again, I just leave it at 300. It's a nice smooth transition between one and the other. And I don't know, it's a little more eye pleasing than to say just slam cut, and it's just kind of jarring all of a sudden, just cutting to the next scene. So yeah, there you go. So when I change scenes, I leave it like that. Audio metering. So this is kind of a good thing to look at right here. When you're using, when your levels are going off here, I'm gonna try to put on some music. So we have a song playing right now, and you can see the audio meters going, and that's gonna be showing you how loud your source is. If it ever gets to that red, it's gonna be a little too much. Generally, you wanna keep it around like 20. I mean, this is all personal preference. Between 20 and 25 is where I kind of keep most of my audio, except for my mic. I allow my mic to go up to -15 to 10. That's because I like my mic to be a little bit louder than everything else. Yeah, adjust this to how you want, and just kind of monitor. It's a good way to monitor your audio. When you're setting up sources in here, if you're bringing in, if you're making a whole new scene, let's just say that this is a new scene, and I have a webcam and I wanted to bring it in. You know, I want to put in my alerts. So you go back and you add a browser source. There's a lot of different types of things that you can add inside of OBS that are already standard in there, like text you can put in, where you can just write something on your screen. A window capture, like if you wanted to capture a specific app that is open, you can do that. The video capture device is for capturing, you know, cameras or capture cards or any other a source coming into your PC as a video source. That's a way to do that. It also works with webcams and whatnot. So that's that. Text GDI Plus. I'm not really too sure what the hell this does. I've never had to use it. Maybe I'll look into that on my own later. but generally I use depreciated text, and that's just literally just typing on your screen. Looking up here, scene, you can add a new scene. You know, you see them right here. Add a new scene. It's just so you can start this whole thing over again, and maybe you want to have a scene like this, and then you want the same scene, but you want your camera over here. So then those are two different scenes. I have that. So if I swap scenes, I can put my camera in all different types of areas on my screen for different games and all that kind of stuff. So I've pre-made all these other scenes to be able to move my camera without having to manually come in and drag all my sources, like my webcam overlay and all that stuff, and move it, and then move it again, and then move it again, and then move it again. And this way I'm just kind of leaving it where I want it. So let's go ahead and turn that off. So if we add again, we can go over here. I have this thing called NDI source. That's a whole nother thing I'm going to go over. It's a whole different way to capture one PC onto another without having to use a capture card. It's very freaking nice. I like it. It does have its own limitations. Media source, you can basically just add a video. So if I wanted to add that video we made a second ago that I ended up throwing away in the trash can, I could go over here and I could browse and I could find that video that we just recorded, and I could have that loop, or I could have that just play every now and then. So let's say you have a sponsor, and that sponsor video comes up every now and then. You want it to be like a little tiny commercial on your stream or something like that, somewhere off in the corner. You could add a media source like that, or you can just simply put up a video of your cat doing a flip or something. I don't know, man. You just put it, do whatever you want. But anyways, let's go ahead and delete that. Adding back down here, we got image slideshow and image. So for me, I have it turned off right now, but if I come back over here, I can show you guys that I have an on-screen text thing. So right here, I have my sponsors, and this is what that image slideshow thing is. So basically I have all my sponsors right here. I have images of each one of these things. One is Gamer Supps, one is NZXT, and one is Discord. I'm partnered with them, and I'm sponsored by them. So I have them just slowly changing throughout the stream just to show off my sponsors, and sometimes it's required from a sponsorship to have their logo on your stream if you're sponsored. So that's what an image slideshow does. And then adding an image, that's literally just putting an image on your screen. If you have a picture, you want to have a picture up, or like this overlay right here, you can put that overlay up. And yeah, so you just add an image. Game capture, this is kind of cool. So let's say you don't want to show your desktop while you're streaming. A good thing to do is to enable that, and that will specifically, when you add a game capture, you will be able to select a full screen application or a specific window or whatnot. It doesn't have to be a game or anything like that. It could be a screen. It's much like windowed capture, but you're capturing an application, and you can, you know, choose to show your mouse or whatnot. But it's kind of nice. Sometimes I want to be able to alt tab and not have the stream see a giant black screen pop up and my desktop and all that stuff. So this will allow me to easily let them still see the game as I alt tab and look at something on my desktop. It is still pumping that game image into OBS, whereas I can't see it, but OBS can. So that's what we do there. Another thing over here, we got a color source. I'm not really sure what this does. It looks like you can just kind of put in a block of a color, which is actually kind of nice. Back in the day when I first started streaming, I used to take my my cam, and I would put a source behind it, and let's say I wanted this to be black like that, or you know what, let's just say red so you can see a little bit more. And then I would scale this down, and I would try to allow it to maybe be, if I hold Alt, be like my webcam overlay or something like that. You know what I mean? So now that is my overlay. Very simple, very easy. So they just added like a source in here that you can kind of play around with. It's useful every now and then. And I also have a source in my full screen where I actually utilize an aspect ratio of 2.35 by 1, and that is what this is. I like this look, but for the tutorial series here, I'm taking off that aspect ratio. I just like the widescreen look, so I thought about bringing that to Twitch just to give that little more cinematic look when you come into the channel. Anyways, back over to here. Let's go ahead and get rid of this color source. And then if we look more, what else do we got? We got a browser. So browser source is everything that you are bringing in from Streamlabs or Stream Elements or any other program that has a source that you want to bring in that is like an alert. So let's say I wanted to add an alert, and I have a link over here from Streamlabs. Let's just, you know, this is just a video. It's not really a good example. So let's say I wanted to put in this video right here, and I allow that to be here. I want my stream to stay at a constant 60 FPS. So I'm going to put this source at 60 FPS as well. I'm just going to hit OK. And then I guess that audio is just going to be sitting up there and waiting and maybe even playing. I'm not really sure. But anyways, that would be your alert. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. So if that was an alert, it would be an invisible box, kind of like much like if I click on this, it would look like this. And then when an alert pops off, it would be inside that little box, this little movable box here. So that's kind of cool. That's browser sources, very simple. And I'm sure there's lots of tutorials on browser sources, and I'm sure those websites have their own specific ways to tell you how to put them in. But that's it. Audio input capture device and audio output capture device. So you can basically add more sources per scene as opposed to adding it overall. So per scene, I could add in my own, like, you know, I could take the mic from the webcam and add that as its own audio source. So if I didn't want to use my mic when I switch to the scene, I could disable my mic and just use the mic coming in from my webcam or something like that. Not many people would use that. I don't have any uses for that, so I don't touch it. There's a little bit of cool things you can do here. So let's switch over to this, and we got the old cam here, the old webcam, and let's go ahead and disable the smaller source. So when you click on a source, when you right click on here, and you get a bunch of different options here, one being transform, and you can kind of flip your image around. So let's say I wanted to start streaming, but I only wanted to stream with that little, you know, portrait mode. Maybe I use a phone or something like that, and I wanted to transform this and rotate it by 90 degrees. And now I have a source that basically looks like my phone, and I can scale it and however I want it. And but let's say I do want to keep it in widescreen. I said, oh, I messed up. I can come back over to the source, transform, and we can just reset the transform, and we're back to normal. I think I've typically had this on mirror, and the reason I do that is it is easier for you when you were looking at your own OBS to know where you're pointing, because it's almost like you're looking into a mirror. So if I have this sitting right here, it's very easy to point like, oh, that's top left, that's top right, or top right, top left, and but yeah, so it's a very easy way to point to things. It's just good to see yourself, and you're not trying to like figure something out. If it's flipped, if you ever look at yourself in a camera that is not flipped, it's not a mirror, you can see like when you go to reach for something like behind you, it's not going to be where you think it is. It's actually on the opposite side. It sometimes messes with you. It doesn't matter. So another thing you can add is filters. Filters are a huge thing inside of OBS, and not many people utilize them too much, but there's a lot of good stuff in here, man. There's a lot of good stuff. So one, you can add audio filters. So let's say I did have a microphone on this cam and I wanted to utilize it. There's a lot of plugins here to use, which I'll be going over these audio plugins in another video. Over here, the effects, there's a lot of things here. You can apply LUTs, chroma keys. So if you have a green screen, that's a really good situation. You want to put that on there. And if I put a green screen on here and let's say blue, there you go. So I guess blue kind of works. So let's say everything that's blue or has some blue tint to it because the webcam automatically went towards a blue white balance. You're able to do a little green screen work. And right now it looks like the chair might be in, but like this is how people stream with a green screen. And so the chair is now the person talking in front of a microphone. And then this is all the settings you can use to adjust it, to fine tune it and how it looks, and just make it look how you want. So if I only wanted to have that chair visible, maybe, you know, I would set it to something like that and slowly work in, you know, get rid of the green, and that's the image I want, you know what I mean? So that's a very basic overview of chroma keying, and that's a way to utilize a green screen. But obviously you wouldn't put it as blue, you would set to the green or whatever the color the screen is that's behind you. Other filters you can add, so the LUT, if you look over here, OBS has some built-in LUTs already inside. So if you go to the little browse tab, once you hit this, you can click on the let's click on the teals lows, and you can already see it changes the image a little bit here to have a little bit of an Instagram filter or something like that. LUT stands for lookup table. Basically, it's what we in the film industry use to set a look for a film. Just so we can kind of get a visual idea of what the film's going to look like in the end after they use color correction and whatnot. That's a really good way to look at it. So, you know, you have the basic color space, and then you add a LUT, and it changes it to what you want it to be. In this case, just think about it like Instagram filters, and you're adding a filter. Very easy. And some of the filters even do other things, like if I do posterize, you can kind of see it looks a little weird. There's an effect. Some people like these effects. I hate these effects. I do like the LUTs. I want more of them, and I know there's ways to download more and get more, or you can even create your own. Next up, we got color correction. So very simple. Obviously, color correction, you all know about color correction. It's just, you know, gamma, brightness, contrast, all that stuff to, you know, make the stream how you want it to look. You know, saturated, you can, you know, be super colorful. I don't know, dude. Whatever you want, man. Or just change the colors entirely and just have a really unique stream where my tattoo looks purple. So, you know, it is whatever you want it to be. But that's color correction. Very simple. I shouldn't need to explain that. Fairly common knowledge. Crop pad, very easy. It just crops the image to your desire, but at the same time, if you just hold Alt and crop in on the actual source itself, a little bit easier. This is a little bit more fine-tuned, whereas if I crop here, I can manually go through pixel by pixel and really just come in and add that croppage in there. Image mask and blend. So sometimes you go into someone's channel and they'll have a instead of a square webcam look, they'll have like a star and they'll be inside the star. So if you know how to use masks and stuff from Photoshop, you can actually put in your own mask and be able to put yourself within inside that, as opposed to what's it called, having a square. But you know, to each his own, however you want to put your thing. Render delay, I'm not really sure. That might just be like an actual delay of what my webcam sees. So if I set this to 500, now I move my arm and then my arm moves up. Go down, it goes down. So this is really good if you ever have audio issues where your camera is late or your microphone is a little bit late. This adds a little bit of a delay. I don't know how far you can take this. Looks like I might be able to take it to like 999. Nope. Let's see, 600. Nope. Let's see, 500. Yep, 599. Nope, 520. Nope, looks like 500 is the max. So maybe you could add multiples of these if you wanted to keep continuing to delay the thing. You might be able to go ahead and just keep adding more and more of these so that it is delayed however much you want, almost like a stream delay. Down here we got a scaling and aspect ratio, just like predefined aspect ratios. So let's say I wanted to just leave this as 4:3. Boom, now I'm in 4:3. It squishes it as opposed to cropping it. Or I wanted to leave this just as 16:9, which is the camera default, or stretch it to whatever I want it to be, or downscale it, scale it down, scale it up, whatever you want. It's more of a fine tune. It's just like, it's like the cropping, but on a more fine tune adjustment basis. So we're gonna go ahead and get rid of that. What else? Down here, we're gonna keep looking down. We got scroll. So scroll's kind of cool. Sharpening's kind of cool. Scroll just literally scrolls the image. So if I set this up a little bit, it's gonna start to scroll the whole screen over and over and over again. You gotta think of it outside the box. You can apply this to anything. So let's say you have text on screen and you want it to just scroll by. This is how you do it. And if you want to add a little bit of verticality to it and shit starts getting crazy, I don't know why you would want to use this for a webcam, but maybe it's something you have unique. Maybe you have a music channel or some shit and you just want to like, yeah, this is cool, man, let me dance. I don't know, dude. It's whatever you want it to be. So that's the scroll effect. And then if you come down over here, what was that other one? We got sharpen. So sharpen is a thing that you can use if your camera's a little bit let's say your camera's a little dull looking, and you want to add a little bit of a sharpening effect to it. So let's say I turn this on and then boom, everything's just a little bit more crisp. You know what I mean? And I'm sure it's kind of hard to see unless I really blow this up. But you know, sharpening does a whole lot in terms of taking a soft image. Maybe you have a webcam that's not the best and you just add a little bit of sharpness to it just to make it that more HD looking. But when you take it too far, it starts looking a little funky. If you look at the mic right here, it looks really kind of weird. You know, it has a weird look to it. You don't want it to look too weird. So generally when I add sharpening, I usually add something like close to like under 0.10, and it's usually a nice little extra added bonus in terms of a just a little sharpness to make the camera look a little bit better than it actually is. Not a lot. You take it too far and it starts looking weird. All right, so that's the end of filters. Is there anything else I didn't go over here? Oh, so those filters can be applied to individual sources, but as well as you can apply it to the overall scene. So let's go ahead and turn on some of these other cameras and whatnot. Let's actually switch back to this guy here. We're gonna turn on these two cameras. And, you know, maybe I really like the way that one lookup table looked, that LUT, and I wanted to apply it to the whole scene and not just one of these things. I can literally go over here, apply a filter, add filter, apply LUT, apply it, browse, grab that little teal thing that we saw earlier, and then it applies the whole scene as opposed to having to apply it manually to each part of the scene. Now everything has that LUT applied to it. So let's go ahead and remove that. So yeah, you can apply filters to a source or a scene itself Very, very handy. You can make other scenes here. So let's say I have this whole thing set up, and maybe someone else wants to come in and stream on this PC, and I can make a whole different collection, and maybe I can call it Activator, and then Activator has his own sort of sets of scenes and sources, and they can have two different things there, and you can just swap back and forth like that for whoever's broadcasting at the time. One thing that's kind of cool, which not many people will use, but I use because I use a dual PC setup sometimes, is what you can do is you can right click on the actual image itself, the screen that you're previewing, and you can go to full screen projector, and what that's going to do is it's going to project what is on OBS onto a monitor, and we're going to get more into that when we get to capture cards, but basically that's a way you can set up a capture card as technically a third monitor to take in what you are streaming and put it on your stream PC. So if I set this to this screen, it's going to look a little weird because it's not able to really perform this task, but it is able to pump that out and essentially have a fake third monitor. So yeah, but you would project this to the capture card or to your fake third monitor, as opposed to, like, right now I only have two screens hooked up to this PC. So screen 1 is what you're looking at, and screen 2 is over here on my right. And yeah, so actually maybe I can do a test with the camera. So if I switch back over here and I go full screen, you guys will be able to see that we have, it's kind of flipped right now, but you guys are seeing this screen right now. You can see me move it around. But if I go over here to projector and I project this over to my screen 2, you can now see that it is projecting a projection onto this screen, and this would be what OBS sees in my other PC, if that makes sense. We can go over that more in another video, but that's just for now, just so you guys have a little bit of an idea. So I think that's it. I'm not really sure what else we could talk about here. And you could do the same thing with the windowed projector. So very similar situation, like this would be the third monitor, but you can have it as a window. So maybe you have, you wanted to see what the stream is seeing, but you didn't want all this junk here. So you can minimize this and just have what your stream is seeing in a little window. And that way you don't have to worry about seeing scenes and all that kind of junk. That's just one option to have there. So anyways, that concludes the OBS setup. Very simple. There's all the little guides and all that stuff. There's help forums online for everything else. I don't know what else you'd really need. One thing that's kind of unique that I found in an older stream is that there's this thing called captions. And if you turn that on, it's kind of funny. You could turn that on, and while you're streaming, it'll throw up captions. You'll never be able to see it unless you watch your own stream, but it'll throw up captions, and OBS will try to determine what you're saying, and it'll try to output text, and it's amazing. But yeah, so that concludes this whole tutorial. This is a freaking long video, and I didn't expect it to be this long, but anyways, that's setting up OBS 2018. There it is. Very simple. Again, if this is too much for you, go to Streamlabs OBS. You can literally set it up in a couple clicks, add your overlays, add your this, add your that, and done. That's it. So yeah, the main part of this was going over the OBS settings and making sure that you can get the best quality you can by changing the bitrate and changing the CPU presets and all that stuff. So that's it. Good luck. I know this was long, and if you watched it, weird, but at the same time, some people out there need this, and I'm here to try to help out a little bit. Hopefully my other videos won't be this long. And yeah, so thanks. Tune in to my stream, twitch.tv/activator with an E. It's like this, not with an O, because it's Twitch and the internet has all the names already taken. But anyways, follow me on Twitch, sub to me here on YouTube, and if you want to, say anything in the comments, go for it, dude. I'm all for criticism, criticisms, or help, or if someone is looking for help, just comment down below. Yeah, I'm live Monday through Friday Eastern time from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you'll find me live throughout most of the days on Twitch, besides the weekends, because that's my time. But anyways, thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it. And if you guys you guys want more, like the video, give me a thumbs up. And I don't know what YouTubers say, but enjoy, like, and subscribe. That's the thing. Go sub to me on Twitch. It's totally free if you have Amazon Prime. Okay, I'm out of here. Bye, guys. Have a good one. Peace, peace, peace. Thanks for everything. If there's anything you guys need more information on, message me on Twitter, dude, @TwitchActivator, and I'll try to respond. Yeah. Okay, bye.